Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, The Star Ghost. Chapter 9.
I am impressed, Nog said. Even I have never come down here.
Jake was really getting the knack of lip reading now, and he could understand Nog pretty well. The young Ferengi had either recovered his self-control or else was doing a good job of hiding his fear. He and Jake stood in the big empty room that Draco had used as headquarters, still lit only faintly by the reddish glow of the emergency lights. When Nog walked right through the chest-tall, metallic mushroom, Jake blinked. Then he remembered that the mushroom-shaped piece of equipment must be Draco's. Jake could see it as more real and solid than anything else in the room, but to Nog it was invisible.
What now?
Nog asked Jake. Jake could not see Draco clearly in the dim light, but the Quester was right beside him. The unemotional voice of the speaker said, "Show Nog that Jake Sisko will stand where I will stand. The transporter must try to lock on to Jake Sisko there." Jake squinted, trying to see Draco better. The shimmering humanoid form paused a meter away from the strange metallic mushroom, and then it stepped back. Jake carefully stood in the same place. Again, he pantomimed, drawing a circle on the floor. He looked at Nog expectantly. Nog nodded.
I think I have it. You have to be right here in...
He checked his chronometer.
In 36 minutes, when the transporter activates. You'll stand on that spot there. All right. I have the deck level and the room location memorized. Let's go find your father.
Yes, Draco's speaking device told Jake. You go. Draco will stay here to complete computer calculations. Jake and Nog hurried along. Time was running out in more ways than Nog knew. If the bomb had been set to go off before the transporter crew could retrieve Jake, then all was lost. And even if it wasn't, there was a chance that Jake could not be retrieved at all. Then the station would explode and everyone on it would die. Or would they? Jake wondered what would happen to him and Draco. If they could survive the hard radiation close to the reactor cores, would an explosion destroy them? If it didn't, could Jake live in the hostile vacuum of outer space? He began to shake from a combination of exhaustion and dread. That was one experiment he never wanted to try. Taking every shortcut they knew, Jake and Nog reached ops level in just over 7 minutes. Only half an hour left. They found everything in the operations center in a swirling state of chaos. Jake almost yelled with relief when he caught sight of his father standing behind the ops table with a tired and worried look on his usually strong face. Commander Sisko was speaking, and Jake was so familiar with his facial expressions and his way of talking that even before they approached him, Jake could tell what his father was saying. "O'Brien," Sisko said to a communicator, "have the repairs to the docking circuits been completed?" He listened for a moment to a reply that Jake could not hear. Then he puffed out his cheeks and said, "That's good, because Chuck has just informed me that our time is up. Of course, Starfleet and the Bajorans haven't replied to his ultimatum, but Chuck won't listen to reason. His ship will depart in 5 minutes." Another pause, and then Sisko grinned without much real humor. "I agree with you. Good riddance to them." Major Kira, looking irritable and grouchy from lack of sleep, came up beside Sisko. "Commander," she said, "the Cardassian vessel is signaling that it is ready to go. Security reports that the Cardassians have left the station and are aboard the ship. All of Chalk's crew are accounted for." "They have permission to leave dock," Sisko said. Then he tapped the communicator again. "Odo," he said, "any trace of Jake?" Jake watched his father's face fall. "Well, continue the search." "Blast it, he has to be somewhere aboard."
He's here,
Nog shouted. Everyone froze. Sisko jerked his eyes off the readout board and stared at Nog. "Here? Where?" he demanded. Nog pointed.
You can't see him, Nog said. He's stuck, but I know how to get him back.
A security man took a step forward, but Sisko put out his arm and held the man back. "I don't know what you mean by stuck." But how can we get Jake back? Cisco asked.
You have to set a transporter to the coordinates I will give you and look for Jake's locator signal,
Nog said.
And you have to do it in exactly 24 minutes.
Cisco tapped his communicator. Chief O'Brien, meet me in the main transporter bay at once, he said. Then to Nog he added, You'd better be telling the truth. Nog ignored him. He turned to Jake and said,
Go, now, hurry. I'll wait on the transporter side.
Jake nodded and ran back along the passageway. He hoped that everything would work. If not, he did not even want to think of what might lie in store for him and for Deep Space Nine. A few minutes later, Nog stood before a hologram, a three-dimensional sketch of the deck level where Jake had taken him. He placed a finger on a spot almost in the center of one compartment.
Here, he said. Jake will stand right here.
Nog and Jake's father had met O'Brien in the transporter bay, and O'Brien had tapped into the computer to call up the hologram. Now Commander Cisco looked at the chief engineer with an inquisitive expression.
The fabrication room, O'Brien explained. It's where the Cardassians used to assemble personal weapons. Since accidents happen, particularly with Cardassian design systems, the room's a heavily shielded compartment, out of the way and not of much use. As far as I know, it's vacant.
Can you lock on to this coordinate? Cisco asked.
Certainly, O'Brien said. I ran the transporter array of the Enterprise for years. If Jake's there, I'll bring him back. 4 minutes left, Nog said.
Commander Cisco's communicator chirped. Ops to Commander Cisco, said Major Kira's voice. Cisco here, acknowledged the commander. Sir, you'd better come back here on the double. There may be trouble brewing. Commander Cisco looked angry. What is it now? He demanded. Make it short, Major. Sir, the Cardassians aren't leaving. That's ridiculous. They've already left, Major. They departed before I left Ops, Cisco said. Major Kira's tone was earnest. Yes, sir, but the Cardassians merely withdrew on impulse power. They're about 10,000 kilometers away now, and they're just hovering there. What? Cisco said. What do you mean, hovering? Just what I said, sir. They're dead in space, as if they're watching us. After a brief pause, Major Kira added, as if they're waiting for something to happen. Major Kira, scan them. See if their shields are up, Commander Cisco ordered. Yes, sir. Nog tugged at Cisco's arm.
2 minutes, he said,
his voice high with excitement. I know, Cisco said. O'Brien, get ready. O'Brien moved to the control panel of the transporter and adjusted the settings.
Yes, sir. I'm setting the coordinates.
Again, Major Kira's voice chirped from Cisco's communicator. Sir, they have not raised their shields, Cisco said. Then they are offering no threat. No. Major Kira sounded as if she were reluctant to make that admission. But, sir, they're up to something. They must be. Cardassians can never be trusted. I repeat my request. You should return to Ops immediately. Nog said,
1 minute!
Cisco said, I'll be there shortly, Major. Continue to monitor them. Do not attempt to hail them or to undertake any defensive action that they might misinterpret. As soon as we have Jake back, I'll come straight to Ops. Sir, is it wise to delay? Major, said Cisco, calm down. I know you don't trust Cardassians, but there's no rush.
Now!
Yelled Nog. Chief O'Brien activated the transporter. Jake had arrived at Draco's quarters with just a few minutes to spare. The Quester was still there, making some adjustments to a control panel atop the strange mushroom-shaped mechanism. Draco looked up and nodded a greeting as Jake came in. Are you ready? Jake asked. After a final adjustment, Draco produced the speaker. All is ready, Jake Cisco. If everything proceeds as Draco wishes, you will be restored to your own people in 7.5 of your minutes. Jake nodded. I see. I suppose we won't be able to talk to each other after the change. Quester's face reshaped itself in another of the creature's unreadable expressions. That is correct, Jake Cisco. But you are a part of the Dracelian whole now. You will forever be a part of the whole. How? Jake asked. In memory. Oh. In spite of his anxiety, exhaustion, and worry, Jake smiled. I guess you'll always be a part of me too, Draco. I'll never forget you. This form is honored. Yeah, Jake said, a little embarrassed. Well, so am I. A bright blue light flashed silently on top of the metal mushroom, and Draco leaned close to study it. Suddenly the quester straightened, urgently fingering the speaker. The artificial voice again came out with an edge of distressed excitement. Jake Sisko, Draco's computer has calculated the time the bomb device will explode. It will be very soon. How soon? Jake asked, fighting a wave of panic. How long do we have? The quester moved its long, thin, bony fingers with lightning speed across the top of its display. Jake could see no letters or figures, and he heard no computer voice, but a bewildering constellation of colors flickered and flashed as light displays flared all over the surface of the mechanism. Some pulsed in frantic red, others twinkled from green to orange, and still others shone with combinations of blue or violet. Gripping the mechanism with one hand, the quester fumbled for the speaker with the other. Jake Sisko, the bomb device will explode within 3.52 of your minutes after the transporter activation. 3.5 minutes? Jake was stunned. What could he possibly do in so short a time? It was hopeless. The Drakelian was staring hard at Jake with those huge, glowing eyes. Jake Sisko, a chance of survival. Draco's ship will take both of us to safety if we leave now. What is Jake Sisko's decision? Jake thought of abandoning Deep Space Nine. He felt like crying. He still remembered how his mother had died in a savage attack by the mechanized Borg. Was his father doomed too? And his friend Nog and all the others aboard the station? No, he said. Draco, save yourself if you can, but I have to be with my family and friends, no matter what happens. After a moment, the hooded head inclined in a graceful nod of assent. This form understands. Ready yourself, Jake Sisko. Time of transportation is very near. Draco, just in case I don't see you again, I want to thank you for the help you've tried to give us. Quester's head bowed. The voice from the speaker was slow, with perhaps a hint of sorrow. This form thanks Jake Sisko. Even if we both survive, this form can never see Jake Sisko again. Draco must leave Deep Space Nine. Leave? Jake asked. Why? The thin fingers moved over the crystal rods, and the voice explained. It is against the wishes of the whole that a quester becomes known to those who are watched. It is only because of the great distance to the whole that this form has been able to speak and act with Jake Sisko. This form must leave the station and seek other kinds of life elsewhere to observe. The head raised, and Jake thought he could see sorrow in large red eyes. Draco will be forever mindful of Jake Sisko. Draco has learned much here of the concept of friendship. You've been a friend to me, Jake said, to all of us. Thank you again. The quester straightened, all business, alert and tense. Ready now. Time is very near. Close eyes, Jake Sisko. Draco says farewell. Jake tapped his locator to send out a homing signal, then squeezed his eyes shut. This time the silent explosion of light was much more intense, and it lasted longer. He felt a prickle of heat all over his skin, and then the familiar tingle of the transporter beam. Then all was silence, darkness, and fear. Do you have him? Asked Sisko, his voice shaking with emotion. Behind the transporter controls, Chief O'Brien sweated. I've got something, he said. I'm picking up a faint locator signal. This is difficult. It's like an attempt to transport at extreme range. I'm boosting the gain now. Is it Jake? Nog asked. Losing the signal, O'Brien said. Hang on. I'm going to match the pattern with Jake's. He's used this transporter before, so his body pattern should be in the buffer. If I can hold this one until I retrieve Jake's, I can use it to amplify... There, got it. O'Brien's big but surprisingly delicate hands flew over the controls, adjusting, coaxing, trying to drag the pattern out of thin air and into reality. At last the big Irishman looked up with a gleam of triumph in his eyes. Yes, it's Jake. Hold on, lad. Here goes nothing. The transporter pads pulsated with strong surges of power. A glittering pattern began to form, faded, came back again more strongly, and then shaped itself into sparkling human outline. Got him! O'Brien yelled. And a second later, Jake Sisko stood swaying on the pad, looking out at them with wide, dark eyes. "Son!" Sisko shouted, stepping forward with his arms outspread. "Where in the galaxy have you—" "No time," Jake said. "Chief O'Brien, check the sensors for a massive, dense material just above one of the dead reactors. The Cardassians left a bomb there, and it's about to explode." Chapter 10. "Where?" demanded Chief O'Brien. "I can't find it, Jake. If you can't point out exactly where I have to look." Jake studied the hologram of Deep Space Nine with desperate attention. He knew roughly where the bomb had been placed, but roughly was not good enough. O'Brien did not have time for a full scan of the fusion reactors, and anyway, the radiation would make precise readings difficult. The holographic model of the station floated right before Jake's eyes, but he was having trouble finding the precise spot where Draco had showed him the bomb. "It looks different," he said. "How much time's left?"
"Only a minute and a half," Nog said. "Quick, Jake, how can we help?"
"It looks so different this way," complained Jake. He felt grimy and dizzy from lack of sleep. His eyes burned. If only he could see the station the way he had, while in Draco's dimension, he thought. Yes, that was it. To O'Brien, Jake said, "Can you make the hologram more transparent so I can see through the plates and things?" "Right away," O'Brien said. He adjusted the hologram. It faded until it was like a model made of glass. Jake bent in for a close look. Yes, that was it. He traced a cooling pipe with his finger and then pointed dramatically. "Right there," he said. "It's a group of 5 spheres clustered right around this pipe." "Scan that area," ordered Sisko. "Right away, sir," said O'Brien. He directed the scan from the transporter station. Grimacing in concentration, O'Brien said, Nothing. No, here it is. 5 foreign bodies, just where Jake said." Sisko was sweating. He wiped his face with his palm and said, "Chief, is there anything you can do to disarm the bomb?"
"Half a minute,"
Nog said. O'Brien shook his head. "Negative, but I can lock on with the transporter controls. With that much mass, the transporter won't be able to fling it far. But maybe a few thousand kilometers will be enough." He manipulated the transporter board. "I'm putting all available power into this," he warned. "Here goes." The transporter hummed. Sisko tapped his communicator. "Ops, put the Cardassian ship on the screen," he said. "I want to see their reaction if we pull this off. Prepare to raise shields on my order." Just then, the lights dimmed and faded, and even the artificial gravity lessened. Jake felt strange, as if his weight had suddenly decreased by half. "It's away!" O'Brien yelled as normal power returned. The auxiliary screen came to life, showing the Cardassian ship waiting in space. Almost at once, halfway between the station and the Cardassian vessel, a searing burst of energy appeared, like a white-hot new star close by. "Raise shields!" ordered Sisko. Jake watched as a red spherical shockwave expanded from the blast. It came closer and closer. "Shields up!" reported Major Kira's voice. The shockwave hit. The lights dimmed again, and the screen dissolved into ionic static. Then, after an anxious moment, the screen wavered back to life, the lights came up, and everyone exhaled. "We're still here," said Sisko. "Major Kira, scan the Cardassian ship." "Scanning. Commander, they've taken shock damage to their central power controls. The ship cannot raise its shields or go to warp speed. Wait, Chalk has engaged his impulse engines. I think he's trying to run away." Sisko nodded and said, "Major, dispatch 2 runabouts to intercept that vessel. Arrest Chalk and his crew on Starfleet authority." Even if he had not already known how much Major Kira despised the Cardassians, Jake could have guessed it from the satisfaction in her voice. "Yes, sir, right away." Sisko turned to Nog. "You were a great help," he said. "I won't forget that."
"Then tell my uncle not to punish me," Nog replied. "That would be the best way of not forgetting."
With a grin, Sisko said, "I'll make it an order." Feeling like a wet rag, Jake slumped against a bulkhead. "I'm glad that's over," he mumbled. Sisko put his hand on Jake's shoulder. "Thank you, son. But you had me worried sick. What in the world happened to you? Where did you go?" "Dad," pleaded Jake, "I want to tell you the whole story, but first may I go to bed, please?" "I think we've both had a long day," Sisko said. Go straight to our quarters. I'll be along shortly. Somehow or other, Jake staggered all the way to his room without collapsing from sheer exhaustion. He fell into bed fully clothed, and he was asleep before he hit the mattress. His father let him sleep until noon. Finally, Cisco woke his son with a breakfast tray of toast, scrambled eggs, and orange juice. Jake munched away happily. After breakfast, he took a quick shower and dressed in clean clothes. Then he joined his father in their living room. "What happened after I fell asleep?" he asked. Cisco grinned at him. "You missed an exciting chase. Chalk tried to outrun 2 Federation runabouts, but he couldn't. Then he threatened to open fire. That was a bluff. Chalk hadn't been able to repair his shields, and firing without shields would have been suicide. In the end, the Cardassians gave up." "Dad, I don't understand. If Chalk wanted to use Deep Space Nine for storage, why did he have his crew activate the bomb?" Cisco gave him a grim smile. "Odo and I have talked about that. All that business about storing ores was a lie. You see, back when the Cardassians abandoned Deep Space Nine, Chalk wanted to destroy it instead of turning it over to us. He set up the bomb, but for some reason he couldn't activate it. Odo's guess is that Starfleet arrived a little too soon for him." Jake frowned. "So he made up the story about storing ores to come back and start the bomb. But why would he want to destroy the station now?" he asked. Cisco replied, "Odo's theory is that Chalk wanted to seize control of the Bajoran wormhole. It's the most valuable resource in this quadrant. First, Chalk would blow up Deep Space Nine. Then he would call other Cardassian ships here, and by the time Starfleet could arrive, the Cardassians would have fortified their position. Since Chalk failed, the Cardassian government would never admit to being involved in such an illegal plan, but Odo thinks they probably had some idea of what Chalk was up to." "What's going to happen to Chalk and his crew?" asked Jake. "A Federation trial," his father said firmly. "This morning I've been in touch with the Cardassian High Command. They claim Chalk was a criminal, acting on his own." "Do you believe that?" Cisco shrugged. "It doesn't matter. The important thing is that since the Cardassians disown Chalk's crew, there won't be an interstellar incident when the Federation tries them for terrorism." Jake asked, "What happens if they're found guilty?" "Well, the penalties for terrorism are strict," Cisco said. "They'd be sent to a rehabilitation facility. But since even the other Federation prisoners would hate the Cardassians, life would be chancy for them. I think it's more likely, though, that the Federation will turn them over to the Cardassians. You see, we believe the Cardassians still hold a number of Bajoran prisoners. If they really do, we can make some kind of prisoner swap. We'll give them their people back in exchange for the Bajorans." "But, Dad, Chalk tried to kill us," objected Jake. "It doesn't seem right that we should just hand him back." Cisco's smile became grim. "Don't worry, Jake. Cardassians do not deal with their own kind lightly, especially if the prisoners have failed in an action against an enemy." He got up and stretched. "I've asked some friends to come to Ops a little later today. We all want to hear your whole story." "I don't know whether you'll believe it or not," Jake told his father, "but I'll tell you everything that happened." And in Ops, a couple of hours later, Jake told quite an audience the whole amazing story of Draco and of the strange half-existence he had led aboard Deep Space Nine. Keiko, Molly, O'Brien, Major Kira, Odo, Commander Cisco, Quark, and of course Nog listened to the whole tale. When she heard that Jake really had appeared to Molly, Keiko apologized for not believing her own daughter, but explained that she thought her husband had already spoken to Commander Cisco about Jake. She had assumed that the commander had found Jake safe and sound. Cisco wondered if there was any way of contacting Draco. "After all, we owe him our lives," he said. "I don't think we can, Dad," Jake said. "He told me the Questers aren't supposed to reveal themselves. Now that someone knows Draco is here, he'll have to leave." Suddenly, Molly spoke up. "Draco said to tell you he would leave at 1600, she said. "If you want to say goodbye." Jake said, "Quick, Dad, what time is it?" They had a few minutes to spare. They all hurried to the large, empty compartment that Draco had made headquarters ever since the building of Deep Space Nine. "Is he here?" asked Cisco. "I don't see him," a disappointed Jake replied. "Nog?"
No.
the young Ferengi said. He had dressed in his best clothes with a splendid emerald and gold headband.
Molly, is Draco here?
"Right there, silly," said Molly, pointing at thin air. "Dad, have the lights lowered," Jake said. "Computer, decrease illumination," Cisco ordered. As the lights went down, Jake grinned. There was a tall, shimmering figure, barely visible. The red-orange eyes showed as two soft gleams. "I see him."
So do I,
said Nog.
Come to think of it, he doesn't look like a Ferengus at all. I wish I knew what you were talking about, grumbled Quark. Idle chatter brings no profit, you know.
"I think I see," Odo said. "A kind of faint mistiness." Commander Cisco sighed. "I must be too old. He's still invisible to me." He turned to Molly. "Molly, please tell Draco that all of us are grateful for his help. He is welcome on our station any time he wishes to return." Molly said, "He knows that. Now he's saying goodbye." Jake waved. So did Nog and Molly. With a grin, Cisco did too. After a moment, even Odo, Kira, Keiko, O'Brien, and a very puzzled-looking Quark added their farewells. "Oh," Molly said, "the table is opening up." Jake turned his head and looked from the corners of his eyes. He could barely see the mushroom-shaped mechanism. It was unfolding, changing form. Now it encased the shape of Draco. It was so absurdly tiny. Could it really be a starship? "There he goes!" yelled Molly. Jake blinked. He could not be sure, but he thought that the miniature ship had become a beam of energy and had zipped right through the wall. O'Brien had taken out a portable scanner. "Slight energy flux," he said. "That's all."
He's gone,
Nog said. With genuine regret, Jake said, "Yeah, but I'll never forget him." He grinned at Nog. "You're really brave, you know that? You thought I was a ghost, but you got over your fear and learned to communicate. That's really what saved us all."
There's no profit in bravery,
muttered Nog, looking pleased but embarrassed.
Anyway, you're the one who had to figure everything out. In the end, you and Draco saved us. I guess you protected us all. Jake Cisco, you were a real sheep.
"Huh?" Jake asked. "I'll have to explain that some other time," said Cisco, visibly fighting the urge to laugh. Deep Space Nine rotated in space, once again peaceful and secure. From a viewport, Jake stared at the gleaming endless stars of deep space. He knew that the Drakelian Questor was probably millions of miles away, an invisible streak of energy speeding through the galaxy. Maybe, Jake thought, Draco would be a little less lonely, with a memory of one friend to keep him company. He hoped so. After a few moments, he turned away from the viewport and grinned at Nog. "Now," said Jake, "what was that about sheep?"